Hey there. Tonight, you're about to drift into a world where your grandfather's pruning hook could save your life in battle. It's somewhere around 650 BCE, and you're standing in a Greek field at dusk, holding what looks like an ordinary farming tool. But in your hands, this simple implement carries the weight of survival. You see, while history books glorify bronze shields and legendary swords, they never told you about the desperate creativity of common Greek farmers who couldn't afford proper weapons. They never mentioned how a grain flail became more feared than a sword in certain battles. They skipped over the fact that more enemies fell to modified sickles than to all the famous named swords combined. So, before you close your eyes tonight, let me share where you're listening from in the comments below. What time is it where you are? Are you tucked under warm blankets while rain patters against your window? Or perhaps you're in the summer heat, seeking comfort in these ancient tales. Whatever brought you here tonight, you're about to discover how necessity transformed peaceful harvest tools into instruments of war. How poverty bred innovation. How survival trumped tradition. So, dim the lights, settle into your most comfortable position, and let your breathing slow. Tonight's journey takes you through dusty Greek fields, where every tool had two purposes, and every farmer was one invasion away from becoming a warrior. You wake before dawn in your small dwelling outside Corinth. The year is 648 BCE, and your calloused hands reach for the familiar wooden handle, leaning against the mud brick wall. This scythe has been in your family for 3 generations. Its curved blade worn smooth from countless harvests. But today, you won't be cutting wheat. The warning fires on the hilltops last night meant only one thing. Raiders are coming, and the city militia needs every able body. You run your thumb along the blade's edge, recently sharpened not for grain, but for something far more grim. Your neighbor, old Theron, modified his scythe last season after the previous raid. He showed you how to adjust the angle of the blade, how to reinforce the handle with bronze strips scavenged from a broken pot. The wealthy fight with bronze spears, he told you, but this blade knows how to find gaps in armor, just as well as it finds ripe stalks. You wrap leather strips around the handle for better grip, the same technique you used during long harvest days, but now your hands tremble slightly, not from fear exactly, but from the strange transformation you're about to undergo. In 2 hours, you'll stand in formation with other farmers turned soldiers, your agricultural tools glinting in the morning sun. The raiders expect to face professional soldiers with traditional weapons. They won't expect the deadly precision of men who've spent their entire lives perfecting the arc of a blade through resistant material. You join the stream of men walking toward the assembly point, each carrying their transformed tools like holy relics. Beside you walks Alexios, the vineyard worker, his pruning hook modified with a longer handle that he carved himself from olive wood during the winter months. The blade catches the early morning light, its inner curve honed to perfection. Spent 20 years cutting vines, he mutters, adjusting his grip. Never thought I'd use it for this. The irony isn't lost on you. These tools that bring life from the earth might today bring death. Your group passes the blacksmith's shop, where Dmitri works through the night, not forging new weapons, but adapting old ones. He's welding a sickle blade to a longer shaft for young Marcus, whose family couldn't afford proper armament. The sparks fly in the darkness like tiny stars, each one representing another farmer's transformation into a defender. You've heard the stories from other regions, how during the siege of Megara, farmers with modified tools held off trained mercenaries for 3 days. The mercenaries expected shield walls and spear points, not the unpredictable angles and reaches of agricultural implements wielded by men who knew every possible arc and momentum. Your own grandfather once told you how he survived the Battle of the Narrow Pass, using nothing but a grain flail, its swinging chains confusing cavalry horses more effectively than any spear wall could. The morning sun climbs higher as you reach the training ground where Capitan Stavros, a veteran of real wars, attempts to organize your ragtag group into something resembling a fighting force. He doesn't mock your farming tools. Instead, his scarred face shows respect. "You think you're at a disadvantage?" he calls out, his voice carrying across the dusty field. "But you're wrong. That pitchfork in your hands, Nicodemus, reaches further than a standard dory spear. Your enemy won't expect its triple thrust." You watch as he demonstrates, taking a pitchfork from one of the younger men and showing how its multiple points make it nearly impossible to parry with a single blade. The spreading tines catch and trap enemy weapons, pulling them aside to create openings. "And you," he points to a man with a modified threshing flail. That weapon terrified Persian cavalry 50 years ago. The chains are unpredictable, wrap around shields, strike from angles no training prepares for. Your own scythe feels more comfortable in your hands now, as Stavros explains how its curved blade naturally hooks behind shields, how its sweeping motion differs from any sword technique. He pairs you with another scythe bearer, teaching you to work in tandem, your blades creating a deadly zone where no enemy can safely stand. The sophistication surprises you. This isn't desperate improvisation, but tested battlefield doctrine. By midday, your transformation feels nearly complete as you practice the formations Stavros taught. You stand shoulder to shoulder with men you've known since childhood, but today they look different, dangerous even. The baker, Fotis, spins his modified grain flail with practiced ease, the weighted chains whistling through the air in patterns that would confuse any traditional swordsman. You've discovered that your scythe works best in a low stance, sweeping at leg level, where armor is weakest. The motion is almost identical to cutting wheat close to the ground, a movement so ingrained in your muscle memory that it requires no thought. Stavros has you practice against men with wooden shields, showing how the curve of your blade can hook the shield's edge and pull it down, exposing the defender. Your enemy's trained against straight blades, he explains, against predictable thrusts and overhead strikes, but you bring the chaos of the harvest field to battle. The younger men seem to gain confidence with each passing hour. Even timid Andreas, who usually tends the olive groves, wields his long-handled pruning saw with newfound authority. The serrated edge, designed to cut through tough wood, would be devastating against flesh. You notice how everyone's farming background provides unique advantages. Years of repetitive motions have given you endurance and precision that formerly trained soldiers often lack. The afternoon heat bears down as a messenger arrives, dust-covered and urgent. The raiders are closer than expected, only 2 hours away, and they number more than anticipated. You feel your stomach tighten, but surprisingly, fear doesn't dominate your thoughts. Instead, you find yourself checking your weapon one final time, running through the techniques Stavros demonstrated. Around you, men make their own preparations. Some pray to Demeter, goddess of the harvest, asking her to bless these tools that usually serve her peaceful purposes. Others sharpen blades one more time, even though they're already razor sharp. Old Theron approaches you with a small pot of olive oil mixed with sand. "Coat the handle," he advises. Helps the grip when blood makes things slippery. The casual way he says it reminds you that this isn't his first time defending the village. You think about your own plot of land, the wheat that's almost ready for harvest, the small grove of olive trees your father planted. These raiders would take everything, burn what they couldn't carry. The scythe in your hands isn't just a weapon now. It's the guardian of everything you've built. Across the field, you see the wealthy citizens arriving with their bronze armor and proper weapons. But Stavros positions your group strategically. "You're the surprise," he says. They'll focus on the traditional warriors, never expecting the harvest brigade. You march toward the designated battlefield, a wide valley where the raiders must pass to reach your homes. Your feet know this ground intimately. You've walked it during planting season, during harvest, during the lazy days of winter. But today, each familiar rock and tree takes on tactical significance. Stavros positions your group on the left flank, partially hidden by olive groves. "Let them see the bronze warriors first," he explains. "When they commit to the charge, you'll sweep in from the side like a scythe through wheat." The metaphor isn't lost on anyone. You crouch among the trees with 5 other scythe-bearers, your particular squad tasked with breaking the enemy's shield wall from an unexpected angle. Young Andreas trembles beside you, his pruning saw clutched too tightly. You place a steady hand on his shoulder, remembering your first raid defense 10 years ago, when old Theron did the same for you. "Think of it as harvest work," you tell him. "Steady rhythm, don't rush. Let the tool do the work." In the distance, dust clouds announce the raiders' approach. Your mouth goes dry, but your hands remain steady. The scythe feels perfectly balanced, its weight familiar and comforting. Around you, men make final adjustments to their positions, agricultural tools glinting between the olive leaves like deadly fruit. The raiders appear in full force, their stolen armor glinting in the afternoon sun, their voices carrying across the valley in a war chant meant to intimidate. You count perhaps 60 men, more than your village has faced before. But as you watch them form their battle line, you notice something Stavros must have seen too. They're overconfident, strutting rather than advancing carefully. They see the bronze-armed citizens in the center and laugh, pointing at the obvious farmers mixed among them. What they don't see is your hidden contingent in the olive grove. Your heart pounds as Stavros raises his hand, the signal to prepare. You shift your grip on the scythe, feeling the leather wrapping rough against your palms. The raiders charge toward the main line with frightening speed, their battle cry echoing off the valley walls. The clash of bronze on bronze rings out as they meet the defenders, but already you can see the traditional warriors struggling against superior numbers. Then Stavros drops his hand. You surge from the olive grove with 40 other farmers, your agricultural tools raised in deadly purpose. The sight must be surreal to the raiders, men with scythes, pitchforks and flails emerging like spirits of the harvest itself. You aim for the exposed flank of their formation, your scythe already beginning its familiar arc. Your scythe finds its first target, the curved blade hooking behind a raider's shield, exactly as Stavros taught. You pull hard, using the same motion you'd use to gather heavy wheat bundles, and the shield drops. Alexius beside you doesn't hesitate, his pruning hook finding the exposed gap. The raider falls, his surprise evident even through his pain. The battlefield becomes a chaotic blend of familiar and foreign, the sound of metal on metal mixed with the whistle of flails through air. You move through the combat in an almost meditative state, your body following 20 years of harvest rhythm. Sweep low, pull back, step forward, repeat. Each motion flows into the next without conscious thought. A raider with a sword lunges at you, clearly trained in traditional combat, but your scythe's curve confuses him. His blade slides along yours, expecting to find purchase, but the angle is all wrong. Your return stroke catches him at the knee, dropping him instantly. Around you, the farmer militia creates havoc in the raiders' ranks. They can't adapt to the unconventional weapons, their training useless against tools that don't follow the rules of warfare. Fotis's grain flail wraps around a spear shaft, yanking it from its owner's hands. Marcus's extended sickle reaches over shields to strike at necks and shoulders. The tide of battle shifts as the raiders realize they're trapped between two forces. Their leader, a scarred brute with bronze-scale armor, tries to rally them, but the farmer militia has destroyed their cohesion. You find yourself facing two raiders simultaneously, their eyes wide with a fear you recognize. the same fear field mice show when your scythe cuts through their hiding places during harvest. You use the scythe's reach advantage, keeping them at distance while looking for an opening. One raider grows impatient, rushing forward with his shield high. You drop to one knee, sweeping the scythe in a low arc that catches both his ankles. As he topples, his companion hesitates, and that moment of uncertainty proves fatal. Andreas appears beside him, his pruning saw finding the gap between helmet and shoulder armor. The boy's eyes are wild but determined, no longer the trembling youth from an hour ago. You notice the raiders beginning to retreat, their mockery turned to panic. They came expecting easy plunder from farmers and citizens, not this deadly harvest of their own men. Your scythe is slick with blood now, harder to grip despite the leather wrapping, but you maintain your hold. The weapon has proven itself beyond any doubt. This tool that has fed your family for generations now defends them with equal efficiency. The raider retreat becomes a rout as they realize the battle is lost. You pursue them to the valley's edge, your farmer militia maintaining better cohesion than the fleeing enemy. Your legs burn from the exertion, but years of working sunrise to sunset have given you endurance these raiders didn't expect. Beside you, old Theron moves with surprising agility for his age, his modified scythe singing through the air as he cuts down a straggler who turned to fight. Just like chasing crows from the grain fields, he pants, a grim smile on his weathered face. The metaphor is apt. You've spent countless hours driving pests from your crops, learning to anticipate their escape routes. Now you apply that same knowledge to human prey. Some raiders throw down their weapons, begging for mercy in broken Greek. Stavros orders them bound, with the same rope you use for bundling wheat sheaves. There's something poetic about it, using harvest materials to secure the would-be destroyers of your harvest. As the last raiders disappear over the ridge, you finally allow yourself to stop, to breathe, to realize you've survived. Your scythe drips red onto the earth that knows only the juice of cut plants. Around you, farmers embrace, their tools still clutched in trembling hands. You've won, but more importantly, you've discovered that the boundary between farmer and warrior is thinner than anyone imagined. As evening approaches, you help gather the wounded, your scythe now serving a different purpose as you cut fabric for bandages. The transformation feels natural, tools of harvest becoming tools of war, then tools of healing. Among the injured lies young Andreas, a deep gash across his ribs from a raider's desperate counterattack. You press torn linen to his wound, while someone runs for the healer woman. He grips your hand with surprising strength, his pruning saw still clutched in the other. "Did we win?" he asks, though he knows the answer. You nod, telling him how his courage turned the battle's tide. It's not entirely true, but the boy needs to hear it. Around you, the aftermath unfolds in familiar patterns. Women arrive from the village with water and bread, the same provisions they'd bring during harvest time. Children peek from behind their mothers' skirts at the captured raiders, these monsters who turned out to be just men after all. Your own wife, Helena, finds you among the crowd, her relief evident as she checks you for serious wounds. "I was grinding grain when we heard the battle," she says. "I knew you'd come back." That scythe has never failed to bring home what's needed. Her words carry layers of meaning as she helps you clean the blade, the tool returning to its peaceful state. The village elder, Chrysanthos, arrives to survey the battlefield, his ancient eyes taking in the scene with practiced assessment. He leans heavily on his walking staff, carved from olive wood decades ago, but his voice carries authority when he speaks. "Today, you've proven what I've always known," he announces to the gathered farmers, "that the strength of our community lies not in bronze or gold, but in the calloused hands that work our fields." He walks among you, touching shoulders, nodding approval at your improvised weapons. When he reaches you, he stops, examining your bloodied scythe with particular interest. "Your grandfather would be proud," he says quietly. "He once told me that every tool contains the spirit of its purpose, and today, your scythe's purpose was protection." The elder orders the captured raiders be put to work in the fields they tried to destroy, a fitting irony that appeals to your sense of justice. They'll learn what these tools were truly meant for: the patient work of coaxing life from soil. As night falls, torches are lit for a victory feast, though it feels strange celebrating in the shadow of battle. Your scythe leans against the table beside you, cleaned but somehow different now. It carries new weight, new meaning. Tomorrow it will return to cutting grain, but you'll never hold it quite the same way again. The victory feast continues deep into the night, but you find yourself drawn away from the celebration to walk your fields under the stars. The wheat stands tall in the moonlight, ready for harvest, untouched by the violence that nearly reached it. You carry your scythe out of habit, its weight comforting against your shoulder. In the darkness, you meet others doing the same. Alexios checking his vines, Marcus examining his family's barley field. No words are exchanged, but there's understanding in the silence. You're all processing the day's transformation, the shift from peaceful farmers to deadly warriors and back again. The scythe in your hands has taken life today, but in a few days it will return to its true purpose: harvesting grain to make bread, to feed families, to sustain life. You run your hand along the wheat stalks, feeling their familiar roughness, grounding yourself in their reality. A sound makes you turn. It's one of the captured raiders, shackled but awake, watching you with incomprehension. He doesn't understand how farmers with simple tools defeated his warband. You could explain about the years of repetitive motion that built your strength, the intimate knowledge of edges and angles, the desperate love for land that made you fierce. But instead, you simply continue your patrol, letting him wonder. Dawn brings the practical aftermath as you join the detail assigned to clear the battlefield. Your scythe, so deadly yesterday, now helps gather the fallen raiders' equipment. You hook shields and drag them to collection points, the same motion you use to gather cut wheat into piles. There's grim efficiency in repurposing their arms and armor. What bronze can be melted down will become plowshares and pruning hooks. Their iron will reinforce your agricultural tools. Stavros oversees the work, ensuring nothing useful is wasted. Their weapons will feed your families, he observes, sold to proper armies or reformed into farm tools. There's justice in that. You find yourself assigned to help the blacksmith Dmitri, who works to restore your farming implements to their original purposes. Some, like your scythe, need only cleaning and sharpening. Others require more work. Fotis's grain flail needs new chains. Several pitchforks need straightening. As Dmitri works, he shares his own story of the first time he modified farm tools for war, 30 years ago, during the Messenian raids. "It's an old tradition," he says, hammer ringing against metal. "Older than any of us. When the great heroes of legend ran out of bronze spears, they too turned to whatever was at hand." 3 days have passed since the battle, and you finally begin the delayed harvest. Your scythe moves through the wheat with practiced rhythm, each sweep gathering golden stalks. But something has changed in your relationship with this tool. Every arc through the grain reminds you of its other capability. Every resistance of tough stalks echoes the memory of other resistance. Beside you works Andreas, still moving carefully due to his wound, using a smaller sickle while he heals. The boy has changed too. There's a quietness to him now, a maturity earned through blood. It feels strange, he admits during a water break, using this for wheat after he doesn't finish, but you understand. You tell him about the old stories, how Demeter herself was said to have blessed agricultural tools with dual purpose, to nurture life and defend it when necessary. Whether the myth is true doesn't matter. It provides comfort. The harvest proceeds well, with even the captured raiders contributing under guard. They work sullenly but effectively, learning the true labor these tools were meant for. One of them, a younger man named Kairos, seems particularly amazed by the complexity of proper scythe technique. You find yourself teaching him, showing how the angle must be just right, how the whole body must move in harmony with the blade. The harvest moon rises full and bright as you participate in the traditional Thanksgiving ritual. But this year it carries deeper meaning. The village gathers in the agora, each farmer bringing their tools, the same implements that served as weapons just days ago. The priestess of Demeter, ancient Thalia, conducts the ceremony with special solemnity. She has you all place your tools in a circle around the altar, scythes and sickles alternating with pitchforks and flails. These blessed instruments have shown their dual nature, she intones, pouring wine over each tool. They have reaped grain and protected the sowers. Demeter smiles upon such versatility. You watch the wine darken your scythe's blade, running red in the moonlight like an echo of recent events. Around you, men who fought as brothers now pray as farmers again. The transformation complete, yet reversible. Young Marcus steps forward to share his first warrior's testimony, tradition demanding that new defenders speak their truth. His voice shakes as he describes the moment his sickle saved Andreas's life, how the familiar tool became an extension of his will to protect. The ceremony concludes with each man retrieving his tool, now doubly blessed, once for harvest, once for defense. Your scythe feels different in your hands, heavier with purpose. A month has passed since the battle, and life has returned to its agricultural rhythm. But the village has changed. You notice it in small ways, how men carry their tools with subtle pride, how young boys practice scythe movements when they think no one's watching, how even the women look at pitchforks and flails with new respect. Today, you're teaching your own son, Nikos, the proper way to maintain a scythe. He's only 12, but old enough to understand the responsibility. This edge must be perfect, you explain, showing him how to use the whetstone. Not just for cutting clean through wheat, but because someday, this tool might be all that stands between our family and danger. The boy listens intently, understanding the weight of your words. Around the village, similar scenes unfold. Fathers passing down not just farming knowledge, but the dual wisdom of tools. Stavros has stayed on as an informal military advisor, establishing a monthly training day where farmers can practice combat techniques. The wealthy citizens who once looked down on agricultural workers now seek your advice, having witnessed the deadly efficiency of simple tools in trained hands. Your scythe hangs in its usual place, but now it's joined by a small bronze medal, a recognition from the city for your service. The medal means less to you than the tool itself. The autumn rains have begun, and you find yourself in the village assembly where heated debate fills the air. The question before the citizens: should the village formally train all farmers in combat use of their tools, or was the recent battle an exception? You stand to speak, your words carrying weight as one who proved the concept in blood. Every season, we train our bodies through farm work, you argue. Every day, we master these tools for their peaceful purpose. Adding combat training doesn't diminish their primary role. It enhances our ability to protect what we grow. The wealthy merchant Klytos objects, fearing that militarizing farmers will disrupt the social order. But old Theron rises, his aged voice cutting through the murmur. Disruption came when raiders attacked, he states simply. Order was restored by farmers with scythes. The debate continues, but you sense the tide turning. Even the aristocrats can't deny what they've witnessed. That agricultural expertise translates directly to battlefield advantage. The assembly votes to establish formal training, with Stavros appointed as permanent instructor. Your proposal that training occur after harvest season passes unanimously. As you leave the assembly, your neighbors pat your back, recognizing you as a voice for the common farmer's strength. Your scythe will remain primarily a harvest tool, but now its secondary purpose is officially acknowledged. Winter settles over the village, and with fields dormant, you have time for different work. Dmitri the blacksmith has asked for your help in designing better modifications for agricultural tools, creating implements that can quickly convert between farming and defense. You spend mornings in his forge, the heat a welcome relief from winter's chill. Together, you develop a scythe handle with a hidden compartment for a reinforcing rod, invisible during normal use, but quickly accessible if needed. The design preserves the tool's balance for farming, while allowing rapid conversion to a more robust weapon. Other farmers bring their own innovations. Alexius has created a pruning hook with a detachable extended handle. Fotis has reinforced his flail's chains without adding excessive weight. The workshop becomes a gathering place where agricultural wisdom meets martial necessity. You're not creating weapons, you insist to anyone who asks. You're improving tools that happen to have defensive capabilities. The distinction matters, especially to you. Your identity remains rooted in the soil, in the cycle of planting and harvest. These modifications are simply pragmatic acknowledgements of uncertain times. Yet as you work the metal with Dmitri, you feel a craftsman's pride in the elegant solutions you're creating, tools that honor both Demeter and Ares equally. Spring arrives with its promise of new planting, and you prepare your fields with the same scythe that has now seen you through harvest and battle. The tool has become legendary in its own small way. Children point when you carry it through the village, whispering stories that have already grown beyond truth. But for you, it remains simply your grandfather's scythe, worn smooth by 3 generations of hands. Today brings unexpected visitors. A delegation from a neighboring village that suffered raids over the winter. They've heard of your farmer militia's success and come seeking advice. Their leader, a weathered man named Prokopios, examines your scythe with reverence. "We have strong farmers," he says, "but they don't believe their tools can stand against real weapons." You spent the afternoon demonstrating techniques, but more importantly, explaining the mindset required. You must stop thinking of them as just farming tools, you tell the gathered visitors, and stop thinking of yourselves as just farmers. Every skill you've developed in the fields translates to defense. You show them how years of cutting wheat at precise angles prepares you for combat angles, how the endurance built through dawn-to-dusk labor surpasses any warrior's training. They leave with new understanding and promises to send their farmers for training after the planting season. The planting season demands your full attention, yet you notice how your combat experience has changed even this peaceful work. Your movements are more efficient, your awareness of your surroundings heightened. As you work the soil with your hoe, another tool that could become a weapon if needed, you maintain a fighter's balance and posture. Your son Nikos works beside you, learning not just farming, but the dual nature you now embody. He asks endless questions about the battle, which you answer carefully, neither glorifying violence nor diminishing the necessity of defense. The same patience that waits for seeds to grow, you tell him, serves you in battle. Rush neither harvest nor combat. The boy absorbs these lessons with the seriousness of youth trying to understand adulthood. Across your fields, you see the captured raider Kairos, who chose to stay after his sentence ended. He works with genuine dedication now, having discovered an unexpected satisfaction in growing rather than taking. You've been teaching him the finer points of agriculture, and in exchange, he's shared knowledge of raider tactics that might help defend against future attacks. It's a strange friendship, born from conflict, but nurtured through shared labor. Your scythe rests at the field's edge, ready for either purpose it might serve. The summer heat intensifies as your wheat grows tall and golden, almost ready for harvest. You walk the fields in the evening, scythe in hand, testing the grain's readiness with practiced touches. Tomorrow begins the harvest, but tonight Stavros has called for a demonstration. Merchants from the city have come to see the famous farmer warriors they've heard about. You and 20 others perform a choreographed display in the fading light, your agricultural tools moving in deadly synchronization. The scythes sweep in overlapping arcs, pitchforks thrust in perfect timing, flails spin defensive patterns. It's both beautiful and terrifying, this dance of harvest and war. The merchants watch with wide eyes, finally understanding that their food comes from men capable of fierce protection. One wealthy trader, Theocritos, approaches afterward with an offer to buy your scythe for his collection. You decline politely but firmly. This tool isn't a trophy, but a working implement with sacred duty. He doesn't understand the insult his offer represents, the suggestion that your scythe is merely an artifact rather than a living tool. The demonstration ends with a feast where stories are shared, each farmer recounting moments from the battle. The tales have already begun to shift, growing larger with each telling, but the core truth remains. Simple tools in determined hands changed everything. The harvest begins before dawn, your scythe singing through the wheat with renewed purpose. Each sweep gathers more than grain. It gathers a year's worth of experience, transformation, and growth. Your movements have evolved, incorporating subtle martial elements into agricultural technique. The twist of your hips generates more power. The follow-through positions you for either another cut or a defensive stance. Andreas works nearby, his own technique similarly evolved, his pruning saw modified with the knowledge gained in battle. The captured raiders who stayed, including Kyros, work alongside you as equals now. Their former identity as enemies faded into shared labor. Kyros has proven particularly adept with a sickle, his warrior's strength adapting well to harvest demands. In my homeland, he shares during a water break, we thought farmers were weak, easy prey. We were fools. His admission carries weight, representing a fundamental shift in how agricultural workers are perceived. By midday, the heat becomes oppressive, but you push through with the endurance that surprised those raiders months ago. Your scythe never falters, its blade maintained to perfection, its handle worn to match your grip exactly. This tool has become an extension of your body, equally capable of reaping wheat or defending what you've grown. A messenger arrives during the harvest with troubling news. A larger force of raiders has been spotted 3 valleys over, potentially heading your way. The harvest must continue, but preparations begin immediately. You find yourself in the unusual position of tactical advisor, your experience from the previous battle valuable beyond your farmer's status. Stavros convenes a war council, where you sit among merchants and aristocrats, your scythe leaning against the wall like a general's sword. They'll expect us to stop harvesting to prepare defenses, you suggest. But that's exactly what we won't do. Let them see farmers in the fields, apparently vulnerable. Meanwhile, we position our forces in the grain itself. Your plan involves using the tall wheat as concealment, turning the harvest fields into a battlefield where your knowledge provides absolute advantage. The council agrees, and preparations begin subtly. Tools are sharpened beyond harvest needs, positions are marked within the fields, and farmers practice combat movements disguised as enthusiastic reaping. Your own role will be crucial, leading a scythe unit that will emerge from the standing grain like vengeful spirits of the harvest. The familiar weight of your tool provides comfort as you plan. Its dual nature no longer strange, but natural. The next morning, you continue harvesting as if nothing has changed, but every farmer knows their battle position. Your scythe moves through the wheat with purpose, clearing specific areas that will serve as fighting grounds, while leaving others standing for concealment. It's a delicate balance, maintaining the appearance of normal harvest while preparing for war. Helena brings lunch to the field, her expression carefully neutral, though you see the worry in her eyes. She knows the plan, has helped sharpen tools and prepare bandages. "The bread is fresh," she says simply, but her hand lingers on yours as she passes the basket. In that touch is all her fear and faith combined. Young Nikos wants to help defend, but at 12, he's assigned to the evacuation group. You've given him a small sickle, more for his confidence than actual use, and taught him basic defensive moves. The boy protests, wanting to stand with the men, but you remain firm. Your battle is ensuring the younger children reach safety, you tell him. That's no less important than wielding a scythe. As afternoon approaches, scouts report the raiders are indeed coming, perhaps 200 strong. Your stomach tightens. This is far more than last time. Yet your hand remains steady on the scythe, its familiar weight anchoring you. Night falls with tense anticipation as you take your position in the wheat field, lying flat among the stalks you've carefully left standing. Your scythe rests beside you, blade wrapped in dark cloth to prevent moonlight reflection. Around you, invisible in the grain, 40 other farmers wait with their agricultural weapons. The plan is audacious. Let the raiders enter the fields thinking they're catching farmers off guard, then rise from the wheat itself like an army of harvest spirits. You control your breathing, a technique learned not from warfare, but from long days of sustained labor. The earth beneath you is familiar, every stone and root known from seasons of work. This is your advantage, fighting on ground you know intimately, while raiders stumble through unfamiliar terrain. Sounds carry on the night wind, distant marching, metal clinking, voices attempting stealth but failing. You grip your scythe handle, feeling 3 generations of wear beneath your fingers. Beside you, barely visible, Alexios shifts slightly, his pruning hook ready. The Orthodox soldiers wait in the village, visible defenders to draw attention. But the real defense lies here, in the fields, where farmers prepare to teach another group of raiders that agricultural tools are deadlier than they appear. The first raiders become visible at the field's edge, their torches flickering like fallen stars. The raiders spread through the fields, believing they've found stored grain bundles to pillage. Their leader, identifiable by his plumed helmet, directs groups to search for the supposed hidden harvest wealth. They pass within feet of your position, never suspecting danger lurks in the wheat itself. You wait for Stavros's signal, an owl's call that will sound natural to the raiders. Your muscles tense, ready to spring, the scythe handle gripped with the same firmness you use for tough wheat stands. Then it comes, the haunting hoot echoing across the fields. You rise from the grain like a spectre, your cloth-wrapped blade catching no light, until the fabric falls away. The nearest raider's scream cuts short as your scythe finds its mark. The familiar reaping motion deadly effective. All around, farmers emerge from concealment, their tools already in motion. The raiders' formation dissolves into chaos. They can't form shield walls in the dense grain, can't see how many attackers they face, can't counter weapons that come from unexpected angles. Your scythe works through them like wheat before harvest, each sweep calculated and precise. The psychological effect is devastating. Warriors trained for conventional battle breaking before farmers, who fight like the fields themselves have come alive. The battle in the wheat fields continues with brutal efficiency as your agricultural knowledge becomes tactical supremacy. You know exactly how to move through the standing grain without tangling, while raiders stumble and fall. Your scythe sweeps low, cutting through both wheat and ankles, dropping enemies who can't see the attack coming through the dense stalks. A raider with a spear lunges at you, but the weapon's length becomes a disadvantage in the confined space. Your scythe hooks the spear shaft, pulling him off balance into the wheat, where Marcus finishes him with a sickle. The younger farmers have learned from the last battle, fighting with confident precision rather than desperate fury. You notice Kairos among your defenders, the former raider now fighting against his own kind with a harvesting scythe. He knows their tactics, calls out warnings in their language, creates confusion in their ranks. The irony isn't lost on you. A raider turned farmer, wielding a farm tool against raiders. The battle moves like a harvest, systematic and thorough. Your group pushes the invaders toward the cleared areas where orthodox soldiers wait with proper formations. Caught between hidden farmers and visible soldiers, the raiders begin to panic. Your scythe continues its deadly harvest, each motion burned into muscle memory from decades of peaceful use, now serving violent purpose. The raider leader attempts to rally his forces, his plumed helmet making him an obvious target as he shouts orders above the chaos. You move toward him through the wheat, your path hidden by the standing grain. Other farmers create diversions, drawing his guards away with calculated attacks. Your approach is patient, using the same stalking technique you employ when hunting birds that damage crops. The leader sees you at the last moment, his eyes widening as he recognizes the deadly intent in your farmer's guise. His sword is expensive, well crafted, but in the wheat field its advantages disappear. Your scythe has reach and familiarity with this environment. The first exchange teaches him this truth, as your blade curves around his straight parry, scoring his arm. He backs away, but trips on the uneven ground, the same furrows that your feet navigate instinctively. You press the advantage, your scythe whirling in patterns that no sword training prepared him for. His guards try to return, but Andreas and Alexios intercept them, their pruning tools deadly in the darkness. The leader falls to a sweep that catches him behind the knee, the same motion you've used thousands of times to cut tough wheat stems. As he lies in the grain he came to steal, you see understanding dawn in his eyes. He's been defeated not by soldiers, but by the very farmers he considered prey. Dawn breaks over a battlefield where agricultural tools have again proven supreme. The surviving raiders flee toward the hills, their numbers decimated by farmers they never truly saw. You stand in your wheat field, surveying the damage, trampled grain mixed with blood, the harvest partially ruined, but the village saved. Your scythe drips red onto golden stalks, a sight that should be wrong but feels strangely appropriate. Around you, farmers emerge fully from concealment, their tools raised in victory. The cost was lower this time. Your ambush tactics and field advantage minimized casualties among the defenders. Old Theron survived another battle, his ancient frame still deadly with a scythe. Young Andreas has become a veteran, his pruning saw earning respect from even the orthodox soldiers. The wheat field tells the story in its damaged patterns. Here where the ambush began, there where raiders tried to form ranks, beyond where they broke and ran. You'll have to explain to the younger children why this section of field yields less grain. Though perhaps that's a lesson worth learning too. Stavros approaches with the municipal leaders, their expensive armor unmarked by battle, while farmers' tools bear the evidence of victory. The fields themselves fought for us, he declares, understanding what truly won this battle. The immediate aftermath brings familiar routines as you help treat the wounded and secure prisoners. Your scythe serves peacefully again, cutting cloth for bandages, clearing damaged wheat to create space for medical treatment. The transformation feels natural now. This shift between tool and weapon, between farmer and warrior. Among the captured raiders, you recognize patterns from your previous experience. Young men mostly, driven by poverty or greed to attempt what seemed easy plunder. They stare in disbelief at their captors. Weathered farmers with agricultural implements who fought with unexpected sophistication. You remember being similarly dismissed once, before you understood your own capabilities. The village healer, Sophia, works beside you, using your scythe to harvest medicinal herbs from the field's edge. Your blade knows many purposes, she observes, gathering feverfew and willow bark. It's true. The same edge that cuts wheat and defeats raiders now helps gather healing plants. Helena arrives with other women, bringing water and bread for defenders and prisoners alike. She kisses you firmly, uncaring of the blood and dirt, then sets about organizing the recovery efforts with the same efficiency she manages harvest meals. Your son Nikos has returned from the evacuation point, his eyes wide as he surveys the battlefield, beginning to understand the weight of the legacy he'll inherit. 3 days after the battle, an unexpected delegation arrives. Professional soldiers from Athens sent to study your agricultural warfare techniques. Their captain, Lysandros, is a scarred veteran who initially seems skeptical of farmers as warriors. You're asked to demonstrate your methods, which you do with patient precision. You show him how a scythe's curve naturally defeats straight blade defenses, how a pitchfork's multiple points create unavoidable threat zones, how a flail's chaotic motion breaks conventional training. But more importantly, you explain the psychological advantage. A soldier trains perhaps 5 years, you tell him, but I've wielded this scythe for 20. My body knows every possible angle, every efficient motion. Lysandros asks to try your scythe, but his soldier's training works against him. He tries to use it like a sword, missing the tool's inherent advantages. You correct his grip, adjust his stance, show him how to use his whole body in the swing. Think of it as harvesting, you advise, not killing. The distinction seems to help, and soon he's moving more naturally. By day's end, Lysandros has gained respect for agricultural combat. He speaks of recommending that Athens train some soldiers in farm tool techniques, creating units that could blend with rural populations. Your simple scythe might influence military doctrine in the greatest city of Greece. The harvest must continue, despite the battle's interruption, and you return to your fields with renewed purpose. The damaged sections require careful work, separating salvageable grain from blood-soaked stalks, clearing areas where combat occurred. Your scythe moves through this mixed harvest without hesitation, having created and now cleaning the battlefield. Neighboring farmers who didn't fight watch you work, seeing you differently now. You're still the same man who helps during difficult harvests, who shares seeds and knowledge. But you're also the warrior who defeated 2 raider forces. Children follow you at a distance, whispering stories that grow with each telling. You overhear one claiming you killed 50 men with a single scythe sweep, and you gently correct him. Truth is impressive enough without embellishment. The actual numbers matter less than the principle established. Farmers are not helpless victims, but capable defenders. Your wheat, even damaged, yields enough for your family's needs, plus surplus for trade. At the market, merchants pay premium prices for warrior grain, believing it carries special properties. You don't correct their superstition. If it helps feed your family and gives your profession respect, let them believe. The scythe that harvested this grain has earned its reputation. Autumn arrives with its traditional festivals. But this year includes a new celebration, the Festival of the Dual Harvest, commemorating both agricultural abundance and military victory. You're asked to lead the procession, carrying your grandfather's scythe, now decorated with wheat sheaves and victory laurels. The combination feels appropriate, honoring both aspects of the tool's service. The festival draws visitors from across the region, including farmers seeking to learn your techniques and merchants wanting to trade with the warrior village. Your scythe has become almost mythical, with people asking to touch it for luck or offering to buy it for impossible sums. You patiently explain that it's not the tool, but the knowledge behind it that matters. During the festival's combat demonstration, you perform alongside your fellow farmer warriors. The display has evolved into something artistic. Scythes sweeping in synchronized arcs, pitchforks creating defensive patterns, flails spinning in deadly beauty. The crowd watches in fascination as agricultural tools become weapons and back again, understanding finally that the division between farmer and warrior is artificial. That evening, at the feast, you sit at the head table, an honor previously reserved for wealthy citizens. Your scythe leans against your chair like a badge of office, its worn handle and perfect blade telling a story of generations of use and recent glory. Winter's approach brings unexpected opportunity as you're invited to speak at the regional assembly about agricultural defense. You travel to the larger city of Corinth, your scythe across your back like a warrior's sword. The assembly hall fills with landowners, military officials, and curious citizens wanting to hear the farmer who revolutionized local defense. You speak simply but effectively, explaining how every agricultural tool represents years of physical training. A warrior practices combat forms, you tell them, but a farmer performs actual cutting motions thousands of times each season. When crisis comes, we simply apply existing skills to new targets. You demonstrate with your scythe, showing how harvest movements translate directly to combat effectiveness. The assembled dignitaries listen intently as you outline training proposals, not to militarize farmers, but to recognize their existing capabilities. Your suggestions include formal recognition of agricultural tools as legitimate defense weapons, establishing training exchanges between farmers and soldiers, and creating supply chains that can quickly modify farm implements for war. The Assembly votes to adopt your proposals, establishing the Farmers' Defense Doctrine that will spread throughout the region. Your simple scythe has influenced policy at levels you never imagined. As you leave Corinth, officials gift you a bronze plaque recognizing your contribution to regional defense, though you value your worn scythe handle more. Spring returns with new challenges, as your fame brings unexpected responsibilities. Young men from distant villages arrive seeking training, viewing you as the master of agricultural combat. You never sought to be a teacher of war, only a farmer who defended his land. But you accept the obligation. Your training ground is your wheat field, now replanted and growing fresh green shoots. You teach them first about farming itself. Without understanding the tool's primary purpose, they can't grasp its secondary use. They learn to plant, to tend, to judge growth, to know when harvest is ready. Only then do you show them how these same skills apply to defense. Your scythe serves as the primary teaching tool, its worn handle passing through dozens of hands, as students learn proper grip and motion. You emphasize that violence is the last resort, that these techniques exist only to protect what grows. Some students struggle with this philosophy, wanting to be warriors rather than farmers. Those you send home, the dual nature requires balance, not bloodlust. Kyros assists with training, his unique perspective as a former raider valuable. He explains enemy thinking while you demonstrate counter techniques. Together, you're creating a new tradition of farmer warriors who understand both sides of their tool's nature. Your grandfather's scythe has become a teaching instrument, passing knowledge to a new generation. A merchant caravan requests your protection for their journey through bandit territory, offering substantial payment for you and your fellow farmer warriors to escort them. You agree, seeing opportunity to test your techniques beyond home defense. 20 farmers join the escort, agricultural tools cleaned and sharpened for potential combat. The sight must be strange. Merchants' expensive goods guarded by men with scythes and pitchforks, rather than swords and spears. Yet the reputation of your farmer militia has spread, and the bandits who usually plague this route remain hidden. The journey takes 5 days, during which you teach the merchant guards basic agricultural combat principles. They're fascinated by how you perceive threats, watching for disturbances in grass that might indicate ambush, reading terrain with farmers' eyes that know where people would naturally walk or hide. Your scythe never leaves your side, worn across your back in a specially crafted harness that allows quick access while keeping hands free. On the third night, bandits finally probe your defenses, but the sight of organized farmers with their unusual weapons deters full attack. They've heard the stories, know what happened to the raiders. Your reputation alone provides protection. The caravan reaches its destination safely, the merchants paying bonuses and spreading word of the farmer warrior's effectiveness.
The summer solstice brings the annual athletic competitions, and this year includes a new event, agricultural tool combat demonstrations. You're asked to serve as judge, your experience making you the obvious authority. Young men from across the region compete with scythes, pitchforks and flails, showing how far the concept has spread. You watch with mixed feelings as farming tools are displayed as weapons first, their agricultural purpose seemingly secondary. During breaks, you remind competitors about balance. These tools feed families primarily, defend them only when necessary. The competition highlights interesting innovations. A young man from the islands demonstrates a fishing gaff modified for combat, its hooked point deadly in close quarters. Another shows how a grape harvesting knife can be wielded in each hand for devastating effect. But the winner is a quiet farmer named Thaddeus, who uses a simple grain scythe with perfect form. His movements show true understanding. Each combat motion derives from actual harvest technique. You present him with the prize, a bronze scythe crafted for ceremony, but balanced for actual use. As the day ends, you demonstrate your own techniques, your grandfather's scythe moving with decades of practice. The crowd watches in respectful silence, understanding they're seeing not just skill, but philosophy in motion. Agricultural tools have become symbols of self-reliance and strength. Late summer brings disturbing intelligence. A massive force of professional mercenaries approaches, hired by coastal raiders to eliminate the farmer problem once and for all. This isn't another raid, but a military campaign aimed at breaking the agricultural defense movement you've helped create. The village prepares for siege, and you find yourself in the war council as a senior advisor, despite your humble origins. Your scythe leans against the wall as you study maps, suggesting defensive positions based on agricultural knowledge. They'll expect us to defend the walls, you propose, but our strength lies in the fields. We should create a defense in depth, using the crops themselves as battlefield elements. Your plan involves controlled burning of certain fields to channel enemy movement, using irrigation ditches as defensive positions and hiding forces in standing grain. It's ambitious, requiring every farmer to become a soldier and every field to become a potential trap. The council agrees, recognizing that conventional defense won't work against superior numbers. You spend days preparing, your scythe serving double duty, harvesting grain that might be lost to battle while also training last-minute recruits. Your own family prepares too. Helena learns basic scythe defense. Nikos is old enough now to stand with the younger defenders. The tool that has protected your family for generations must do so again. but against the greatest threat yet.
The mercenary army arrives at dawn, their professional appearance intimidating compared to your farmer defenders. They number 300, wearing matching armor, carrying standardized weapons, moving with trained precision. From your position in the wheat fields, you watch their confident approach. They've dismissed the agricultural defenders, seeing only farmers with farm tools. Your scythe rests ready in your hands, its blade gleaming with fresh sharpening. Beside you, 50 other farmers wait in concealment, their tools prepared for the greatest test yet. The mercenaries advance in perfect formation until they reach the first trap, an irrigation ditch deepened and filled with stakes. Their front line stumbles, formation breaking. That's when the first group of farmers strikes from the wheat, scythes and pitchforks finding gaps in disrupted shields. You lead your own group in a flanking attack. Emerging from grain fields the mercenaries thought were empty, your scythe moves with terrible efficiency, 20 years of muscle memory guiding each strike. The mercenaries' training works against them. They're prepared for orthodox warfare, not the chaotic creativity of agricultural combat. Flails wrap around their spears, scythes hook their shields, pitchforks create walls of points they can't penetrate. The battle spreads across multiple fields, each one prepared with farmers' knowledge of the terrain. The battle rages through the morning, as your agricultural defenses prove devastatingly effective. The mercenaries find themselves fighting the land itself, fields that trap their formations, ditches that break their charges, farmers who appear and disappear like harvest spirits. Your scythe has become an extension of your will, its curved blade finding every weakness in enemy defense. You've moved beyond thought, operating on pure instinct honed by decades of repetitive motion. The mercenary officer tries to rally his men, but Alexios's pruning hook pulls him from his horse. The sight of their leader falling to a farmer's tool breaks something in the mercenary resolve. You press the advantage, leading a charge of scythe wielders that sweeps through their flank like a human harvest. The metaphor has become reality. You're reaping a different kind of crop, but with the same methodical efficiency. Around you, the farmer militia fights with desperate courage. They're not just defending homes, but a way of life, a philosophy that says those who grow food can also protect it. Even young Nikos has bloodied his sickle, defending the younger evacuees when mercenaries tried to circle behind. The tide turns decisively when the mercenaries' own supply train is captured by farmers who infiltrated using grain wagons. Without supplies and facing losses they never expected, the professional army begins to break. By afternoon, the mercenary army retreats in disorder, their professional pride shattered by farmers with agricultural tools. You pursue them to the valley's edge, ensuring they won't regroup for another assault. Your scythe drips with proof of its effectiveness, though you take no joy in the violence, only satisfaction in successful defense. The victory is complete, but costly. Several farmers have fallen, including old Theron, who died as he lived, scythe in hand, defending his land. You help gather the fallen, your tool returning to peaceful purpose as you cut wood for funeral pyres. The juxtaposition feels appropriate. The same scythe that defended life now helps honor the dead. The captured mercenaries express disbelief at their defeat. Their captain, wounded but alive, asks to speak with you. "We were told you were just farmers," he says, confusion evident in his voice. You explain that's exactly what you are. Farmers who learned their tools have more than one purpose. The captain studies your scythe, its simple construction and deadly effectiveness. "We train for years with swords," he admits, "but you've trained your whole life without knowing it." His observation captures the truth perfectly. Every harvest has been combat training. Every season has built warriors' strength.
Every tool has hidden potential.
The victory over professional mercenaries transforms your status from local defender to regional legend. Delegations arrive from across Greece, seeking to understand how farmers defeated trained soldiers. You've become reluctant spokesman for a movement you never intended to start. Your grandfather's scythe has become almost sacred, with people offering fortunes just to touch it. You refuse all offers to buy it, explaining repeatedly that its power comes not from the metal, but from the knowledge of its use. The tool must remain connected to its purpose. Severed from farming, it becomes just another weapon. A sculptor arrives, commissioned by Athens to create a monument to the agricultural victory. He wants to depict you with raised scythe, but you insist on a different design. A farmer working his field with the same tool resting nearby, ready but not threatening. The duality must be preserved. Your influence extends beyond military matters. Agricultural workers across Greece gain new respect, their tools recognized as potential weapons, their strength acknowledged. Market prices for farm goods increase as people understand the true value of those who grow food. Your simple defense has sparked social change. Young men now proudly learn farming, knowing it carries warriors' honor. Your son Nikos embraces both aspects of his heritage, as comfortable with scythe as any noble's son with sword. As autumn deepens toward winter, you return to your fields for the final harvest of the year. Your scythe moves through the grain with the same motion it has for decades. But everything has changed. You're no longer just a farmer, but a symbol, a teacher, a warrior who never wanted war. The weight of reputation sits heavier than any armor. Yet in these quiet moments, cutting wheat in the familiar rhythm, you find peace. The scythe doesn't care about glory or legend. It simply cuts what needs cutting, whether grain or enemy. This truth grounds you, reminds you of your essential identity. Helena works beside you, gathering the cut grain into bundles. She's learned to use a sickle for defense, but remains primarily interested in its peaceful purpose. You've given farmers pride, she tells you, but don't lose yourself in what others have made you. Her wisdom anchors you to reality. The harvest is bountiful, blessed by the gods or simply by good weather and hard work. As you stack the final grain bundles, you clean your scythe one more time, oiling the blade, checking the handle for cracks. This tool has served 3 generations and will serve more. Nikos watches you work, learning the maintenance that preserves both tool and tradition. Tomorrow brings winter, but your scythe will rest ready, prepared for whatever purpose next season demands. Winter solstice brings reflection as you sit by your hearth, the scythe mounted on the wall above, not as trophy but as tool at rest. Your story has spread throughout Greece, inspiring farmers while concerning nobles who fear armed agricultural classes. You've received offers to lead armies, to teach at military academies, to serve kings. You've refused them all, choosing to remain what you've always been, a farmer who knows how to defend what he grows. Nikos sits beside you, learning to maintain the scythe that will one day be his. You teach him the sharpening angle, the oiling routine, the handle care that preserves the wood. But more importantly, you teach him the philosophy that every tool serves life first, death only when life is threatened. This scythe has harvested thousands of bushels of grain, you tell him, and defended our land twice. The harvest outnumbers the battles, as it should. Outside, snow falls on dormant fields that will bloom again in spring. The cycle continues, eternal as the seasons. Your scythe will return to the fields, cutting grain to feed families. But if raiders come again, if threats emerge, the tool stands ready to serve its secondary purpose. You've proven that farmers need not be victims, that agricultural tools are weapons waiting, that those who sustain life can also defend it.
The scythe gleams in firelight, its dual nature finally understood and accepted.
As our story draws to its close, you find yourself back where you began, a farmer with a scythe, but transformed by understanding. Your breathing has likely slowed as you followed this journey through ancient Greek fields, where the line between tool and weapon proved thinner than anyone imagined. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, perhaps you'll dream of golden wheat swaying in Mediterranean breezes, of tools that serve dual purposes, of ordinary people discovering extraordinary strength. The story of agricultural implements becoming weapons is more than historical curiosity. It's a reminder that creativity and determination often triumph over conventional power. Your modern bed is far more comfortable than the straw pallets those farmers knew. Your challenges don't include raiders at the gates or the need to transform garden tools into defensive weapons. The groceries in your refrigerator arrived without you needing to defend the supply chain with improvised weaponry. Let your muscles relax completely now, releasing any tension from the day. Those ancient farmers have returned to their eternal harvest, their scythes cutting grain in fields of memory. You're safe in your own time, your own place, with no need for vigilance tonight. Close your eyes if they aren't already closed. Let the image of peaceful wheat fields fill your mind, golden, endless, swaying gently in eternal summer. No battles there now, only the quiet rustle of grain, the distant sound of farmers singing harvest songs, the gentle whisper of scythes through wheat. Sleep well, modern dreamer. Rest deeply. Tomorrow's challenges require no scythes.